Join us for the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, where we discuss matters close to the heart. This and every Saturday at 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on HGG Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, alongside your co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopeton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir. The Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. We're not just talk, we're informative. Good morning, family. Good morning, and welcome to yet another installation, another episode of the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, right here on HGG Radio, Edmonton's #1 in gospel music. Of course, we are so delighted that you choose to join us on this morning. We are really happy that you wake up with us Saturdays after Saturdays. And of course, we want to thank you so much for being with us here. Of course, we have another great show for you lined up today, another program that, of course, thought-provoking. We have some very special guests that will be joining us on the program, and of course, we are looking to have this conversation. So, of course, I am your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, and I'm joined by my co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopeton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir. We want to thank you so much for being here with us, and of course, today together we'll be exploring profound topic that affect us all, unlocking the resilient adult, healing and empowering the inner child. Today we will dive into ways in which our childhood experiences shape us, and how by confronting and healing our inner wounds, we can tap into the deep wellspring of strength, courage, and resilience. Through our guests' inspiring stories, expertise, and guidance, we'll discover how to acknowledge, embrace, and transform our inner child, unlocking a more empowered, compassionate, and purpose-driven adult. So let's dive in, and we'll start this journey together, where I want to greet my co-host. Good morning, Pastor Clive, Elder Muir. Good morning. How are we doing today?
Bless you. Good morning. I'm doing good. Elder Muir,
Awesome.
bless you, sir.
Blessings, Pastor
Awesome.
Clive. Good to see you. Dr. Bryan, blessings to you too.
Thank you, sir.
This morning I am doing well. I should be traveling now, but when I did the math, I realized that I would have missed the program. So I had to cancel my trip from last night. In fact, I came home from work like 9 p.m. And then I recognized that, you know what, this is not going to work. So I got to stay and then drive. So I'm driving about 5 hours immediately after I leave this program this morning.
Oh, wow. We wish you safe passage as you go, sir. And I'm so glad that you're here with us. And this morning, we'll give you an opportunity to greet our guests or that are joining us, our listeners, rather, that are joining us from near and far. So go ahead.
You know, we're truly privileged to have our listeners on. And I want to say to you that it is good that you're here with us just to be a part of this discussion. And truly, we are blessed to have you. And thank you for coming on. God bless you and good morning, wherever you are. It may be good afternoon or good night. God bless you all.
God bless you. That's right. Pastor Clive.
Yes, sir. Blessing to everyone. Thank you for joining us right here on the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast every Saturday morning. Some of the names are starting to get familiar.
Yes, they are here on a Saturday.
On a Saturday morning. So I want you to invite a friend and a loved one. Make it, the Saturday morning ritual where you come with your coffee or your tea, your
That's
breakfast.
right.
Just sit down and we just, I was rushing because I squeezed a little bit more out of the sleep.
You take as much as you can get.
I wake up at my regular time at 5:30 from a devotion, and I realized something really happened to me last night. Like my wife, she didn't have the bedspread as yet, so I said, I'm tired. So I lie down in the guest room, and I wake up in the middle of the morning in the guest room, and I was so orientated. I'm like, where am I? I thought I was somewhere else.
Yes. Couldn't
Yes,
figure
sir.
out where you are.
I
But we're
couldn't
glad
figure.
that you're here, that you're up and running, even with your tea. I'm usually having my tea or coffee beside me. So that's all right. We get up with
Yeah.
our tea and our coffee each morning. Let me say good morning to our listeners, Kathleen and Joseph. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the program. Also, Jacqueline Brown. Good morning. Jacqueline Brown said, praise Jesus, Dr. Bryan and the HGG family. Happy Saturday. We say happy Saturday to you as well, Lady Jacqueline Brown and Chosen. Said, bless you. We're missing one of our co-hosts. Well, he's here. Our co-host Bishop Opton Morris. Amen. He is in. Greetings to you, Bishop. Greetings and salutation to you, sir.
Greetings, greetings. God bless you. God bless you. Greetings, Pastor Clive. Greetings, Elder Muir. God bless you.
Awesome, awesome. Good morning to you, Son and Bowen, over there in Florida. Good mornings as well to my Auntie Jem in New York, listening every Saturday morning. Thank you so much. My Aunt Mabel Hemmings, my family come through on a Saturday morning. They love the show down there in Florida. Good morning, Auntie. Shereen Carter, we see you, Shereen. Good morning. It is yet another day, and the Lord has blessed us. Emery Smith down there in Antigua. So our folks from Antigua, Grand Cayman, the States, Jamaica, Canada, all over that is joining us. Elder Goldberg says good morning to us. And of course, we greet you as well, sir. We want to welcome our very special guest that will be joining us. We have a very important program. Last week, we have started to have the conversation, and it was really, really powerful. And this week, we are coming back for part two. The listeners have anticipate part two. They've been talking about it. Last week, we have been getting so many feedback about this discussion, and we want to thank you truly for joining in and for requesting that we have a part two of this program. So you have asked, and we're delivering as usual. And so this week we have joining us back again. He joined us last week. Anjo Mark. Anjo Mark is joining us. Anjo Mark Jones. Welcome again to the show, Anjo. And as well, thank you so much for being here. And of course, Anjo began his professional journey as a senior accountant at KPMG. And we know Andrew's also a alumnus of Manning's School, and where I also earned his bachelor's degree in finance from UTech and MBA from University of Wales. He loved his family, a devoted husband for nearly 10 years, a proud father of two, a football enthusiast. And of course, he loved Manchester United and Brazil. And of course, Anjo worked, of course, with we'll call it underprivileged or at-risk youth, we'll say. And so we want to thank you again for joining us again, Anjo, on the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. We have our second guest, Miss Dion Francis, that will be joining us. And of course, Dion is a native of Kingston, Jamaica. She's passionate about change. She's a change agent, a life transition expert who is dedicated to helping individuals reclaim their natural abilities and reach their full potential. She's the founder and CEO of Blueprint Pathfinders Inc., Canada's leading life transition, balance, and change management coaching expert. She has developed coaching programs and courses that serve clients from over 36 countries. And of course, in 2016, she created BPI's first two signature program, Gifted for Success and the Professional Immigrant Coaching Program. And of course, she has done so much: a certified master personal and professional development coach, life transition speaker. She's passionate about life and empowerment and is fueled by her belief that her identity discovery is the key to building confident individual, unlocking visionaries and trailblazers, and so, of course, hence establishing a nation. We're so grateful to have with us Dion Francis. Please welcome her to the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, I think we just lost Miss Francis
Yeah,
there.
we just
Yeah,
lost her.
no problem. We want her, she will be joining us yet another time. To our friends in the United Kingdom, I see you, and we say good morning to you, to our UK massive. Yes, thank you so much for joining in. Bishop, talk to us how you doing. Give you an opportunity to greet the listeners.
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm in vacation modes. Vacation start basically today for the next 2 weeks.
Wonderful.
So I'm doing good. And it was a rainy weekend. Well, rainy Friday. It's not too bad today. So everything is good on this side. I greet all the listeners. God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in. And they're going to be a wonderful and powerful discussion today. Just remember to like and to share. And thank you for
Hmm.
coming on again. God bless you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Last week we have a powerful, powerful discussion. Last week we talked about the resilient adult, but we dealt with the inner child. Yeah, we dealt with the inner child last week, and I mean, it is so much gems, so much takeaway from that program, Bishop. We deal with as we talk about the inner child and the things that the inner child and the child within us have dealt with and go through, and we are unpacking how that inner child can develop into that resilient adult, that empowering, that resilient adult that will not only empower themselves but empower a whole generation. Of course, we have folks that work in the field, and especially those who deal with children or youth that are at risk. And so we have a powerful, powerful discussion, and I believe we'll continue to have that conversation on this morning as I set it up. Our guests will be, I think they're just having some technical challenges, and will be with us in a little while. So as we deal with it, the inner child within us holds the key to understanding our deepest fears, desires, and motivation. Yet for many of us, that inner child has been wounded, silenced, or hidden away. The consequences of neglecting our inner child can be far reaching, leading to self doubt, anxiety, and a sense of disconnection from our true selves. But what if we could unlock the resilient adult within by healing and empowering that inner child? In this conversation, we'll delve into the ways in which our childhood experiences shape us, and how by confronting and healing our inner wounds, we can tap into a deep wellspring of strength, courage, and resilience. Yes, we'll explore the transformative power of self-compassion, self-awareness, and self-acceptance, and discover how to integrate our inner child into our adult's life, unlocking a more authentic, whole, and empowered vision of ourselves. Elamir, I'm coming to you with the recap, sir. Last week, as we discussed, as we have the conversation about empowering the inner child, dealing with that inner child, I'll just start, with just a quick recap, a quick word from you in terms of we're talking about last week. We delved so much about the inner child, and we want to look this week about how from that inner child, of all the scars, of all the wounds, of acknowledging that inner child, how that inner child now can really, you know become that resilient parent, that resilient person. So we want to tap into that this week. I'm getting a little bit of feedback there. Um, so that inner child talk to us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bryan. And yes, we had a very engaging session last week. And of course, as we looked at it, there's something that I want to say and it is that for a child to reach the place that they should to bring that resilience out, that child has to heal. And this healing process, there's no time limit on it. It depends on the child, the environment, and the resources available to that child. I also want to say that after healing, then comes the empowerment. And that
Mm,
is the awesomeness of what we're talking about. We just don't want to see a child being healed, but we want to see that empowering aspect coming out, so then that child can tap into that which they were born with, in order to be trailblazers in society, or individuals that makes a difference. And of course, we will have our challenges. There is no journey without hurdles or potholes or mountains. When you go on a journey, you will face the obstacles, and many children have. But we have seen the results of
mhm,
overcoming. We have seen it, and I believe our guests. I want to say, even Andrew Mark. We went to the same high school together. We grew up in adjoining communities. We played football together, and we have seen the worst, and yet we have seen some people coming out and doing well with themselves and in the society. But I must say to Andrew, I am an Arsenal fan, but we can leave it right there for now. Right. So yes, it is important that we recognize too that children can be reached. It doesn't matter how bruised, broken, or discarded they are. They can be reached and they can change. I was in the education system in Jamaica, and there is something that we use. It says every child can learn, every child must learn, and I believe every child can overcome their
Mhm.
adversities and whatever they're placed in, and be truly dynamic and successful in their future endeavors. God bless.
Thank you so much, Elda Muir. Talking about Andrew, let me bring Andrew in. Andrew, good morning and welcome again to the show. We're so delighted that you're able to join us. Welcome, Andrew. How are you doing today, sir? Would you just unmute?
You're mute.
Okay, my
Yes,
apologies. Yeah,
no problem.
I was saying that good morning. Happy to be here and I'm feeling blessed.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. I'm going to start off with you this morning because I want to find out after dealing with after dealing with post-traumatic um issues, trauma, how can one from there, coming up in a community, coming up in a place, in a home, in a society where you have seen so much, where you have been dealt with so much, some of us have been dealt, some bad cards. How can one pick themselves up, after dealing with this? How do you cultivate resilience in the midst of all of this when you're being, everything you're seeing is negative, everything you're being told is negative? Now, how do you find that resilience in the middle of that?
All right. There are a few things that come to mind. Um we need to, of course, we have been talking about the whole thing about building strong supportive relationships with friends. So even though you're surrounded by the negative, you do have those one or two friends that can actually help you through whatever you're going. It may not be your own peers, but it could be an adult, maybe a church brother, a church sister. If you're not somebody who goes to church, it could be a co-worker, anybody, but somebody who can give you that strong support. For those of us who go to church, we can build ourselves with what I term a faith community, and this often lends itself to um encouragement, and you are held accountable. um Seeking God's help and healing. Psalms, I think it's 147. It reminds us that God heals the brokenhearted. So in terms of being surrounded by the negative, I agree with Elder Muir. You can overcome. Don't place the emphasis or the focus on the negative. Shift your focus. Be flexible.
Hmm. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for that, for that answer in terms of overcoming. Bishop, I'm going to come to you while we also wait on our next guest to join in, because we're talking about, healing that inner child. Sometimes as you go through different childhood trauma, that child within is still crying out, has been neglected for so many years. And so, even as you get older, that child have not been healed. So you're seeing some childhood tendency and some childhood behavior that are still displaying even in adulthood. Last week I would have mentioned that there are some men who have moved on and got married. And sometime, a lot of time too, got married to older women because they're trying to find mommy in that wife. And still, if something happened, they go back into that childish behavior and childish way. Bishop, add some insight to it. Talk to me about that, Bishop.
Thank you very much. While you were talking, I was making some notes here. One of the things that I written down here is that people who did not have a childhood, that was not able to 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 be a child when they were a child, right, tends to live out their childhood um behavior even when they're an adult. And so that's why it's important. And for parents who are listening, let your child be a child. Okay,
Yes.
right? Because there are different stages of growth, and so they need to experience all stages, right? I heard even with for those who have great success when they were a child actors, um, um, singers and so on. I heard, Steve Harvey was saying one time, Michael Jackson very well, and people seem strange, but he was actually trying to live out what he did not get when he was a child, when he was an adult. Now that he's an adult, because he didn't get that, and so that's one of the reasons why he have, he built this big zoo at his ranch, and have kids come into play, because he got so famous when he was a child that he
Mm-hmm.
did not were not able to be a child, and so he's now a child but in an adult body, right? And so and so we meet a lot of people like this. When we look at some people and like, man, grow up, man, grow up. What's wrong with you? Grow up, man, you're acting like a child, right? It's because a lot of them did not have the chance to be a child, right? And so they live that out. So now, as you mentioned, somebody maybe even marry them and so on, and so therefore you have to make that determination, right? Are you marrying an adult child,
Mhm.
or are you marrying an adult, right? And then you make that decision which one you can live with.
Mm.
Right. And so before you say I do, those are some of the things that you have to make sure that you identify in that person, right? Otherwise you are going to have issues. They will make joke out of everything. They will all kind of stuff can happen, right? And it will throw you off. It will embarrass you, and so on. So one of the way of maybe getting through this is to find either a life coach or a counselor or something, and talks about the things that you wanted to do when you're a child that you were not able to do, and so on. And if there's a way to relive some of those experiences, then you go ahead and relive those experiences, right? So that you can grow up, right? Because grow up doesn't mean that, boy, you grow a beard and you have facial, and you grow tall and age, right? Grow up have to do with the mind. Grow up have to do with your mental state, right? The way how
Mm-hmm.
you think, right? And so on, and it will reflect the way how you act, right? So God bless you, sir. I'll
Yeah.
leave it now.
Thank you, Bishop. So you're saying one of the strategies what we can do is to, and I'm so glad you use even that point about, Michael Jackson. And a lot of time people wouldn't even understand, but of course, when you don't get to heal that inner child, and a lot of time the inner child is crying out and screaming out for help, like help. You know, so much wounds is within me, and we live out those wounds. Pastor Clive, talk to me about how some of these wounds from the inner child can show up. And sometimes they show up in the wrong place. Talk to me about that, Pastor.
It can show up. It took me years upon years. I grew up with humble beginnings. With my mom has nine of us, and of course, can you imagine nine children in a two-bedroom house, no living room, no bathroom indoor, no kitchen indoor, literally a house with two rooms. So everything, you get hand me down and you so forth. But we
Mm-hmm.
love each other and we,
Yes.
um, you know, make the best out of it. But there are things that happen when you're a child growing up that was not that your parent didn't have control over. When you're poor, people take advantage of you, especially if you're dependent on persons for food, simple things to survive. When you yourself is hunting for, I almost drowned one time trying to catch fish to go home to cook. You know, and because of that, I don't like deep water. I go ankle deep.
Mhm.
So, but outside of that, things that would traumatize, like you find yourself into places where you're not supposed to be, where you're sent, but persons take advantage, and these things plays with your mind from a child, and you're as a child holding on to some secrets from a child because of what had happened to you, and you grow up with this thing and it affects you. Some people can't let it go. Some people hold on to it. And I was talking a few weeks ago that even at church we have to be careful how we put our hands on people, because they were probably touched certain way as a child, molested as a child, and now they grow up into adulthood and they don't want to be touched, and they don't want you to touch them. And we have to be careful, even at church, where a person come and you just feel more or less everybody who come want you to touch them. Persons were molested as a child, and it affect their adulthood. They affect their who they are, and struggle. Some make the decision of not getting married. Some, when they do get married, it take them a long time to adjust. You know, and so that inner child at times will come out, and when it comes out, I'm telling you, it's because of a flashback. And when these flashback, how do you deal with these flashback? It it really take time and take God to really help an individual with these flashback. Because around 20 something years ago, I dealt with a flashback. And while I was dealing with this flashback, I was just in tears. A big man, have at the time three children, and I'm there doing a flashback, and tears was just coming. And then after that, I hear the voice of the Lord says, "You got it out? Is it out now?" The Lord just literally took it from me, and from that day until now, that flashback never, you know, come back to haunt me. It's sometimes it takes you to talk to somebody to deal with something that's hurting you from a child. And things, and not only from child, sometimes things that happen to you, you growing up, and you were not the cause of it, and it accidentally happened or intentionally from somebody else's, and it happened to you, but it keep on flashback. What the enemy is doing is using it to keep you into a box. And how do you deal with it? Is by going to God and ask God to take it. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago, something that happened almost 15 years. Literally, I hear the Lord say to me, "Today it's over, and I'm taking this from you." I said, "I thought I dealt with this.
Powerful.
Doc, I thought I dealt with this." He's like, "Nope, I'm going to remove it now. And when I remove it, that's it." Rev, I never know that that thing was terrorizing me so much until that day. It was a few weeks ago on a Saturday. We went to a function and God literally reached down. And I'm telling you, from that day until now, the confidence I have about that area of my life, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
as individual, we're in portions. Your daddy portion, your husband portion, your friend portion. We split up in portions, eh? When you have your wife, there are things that you do with your wife, there are things you do with your friend. So you're split
Yes.
up all over the place. But there are times where things are affecting you that cause you not to have friends. You know what I mean? Because somebody hurt you from a child or even teenager or whenever time. But it takes God to really remove these things.
Yes.
Now,
Thank, thank you,
yeah.
sir. Thank you, Pastor Clive. Really powerful, and also, and I thank you for sharing that personal experience. Because sometimes people do need to, you need to hear that so that you don't feel like it's just you or something is wrong with you, but you also hear that from others who have been there and going through. While we work through some technical challenge for our other guests, I want to come back to Mark because Mark, I know that you work currently with at-risk youth, so I want to go back there and I want you maybe share an experience with us. What are some of the signs that you see that will help you to recognize that these child or children are dealing with those inner wounds? They're dealing with these issues, and you're seeing it. How do it show up at even that age that will help you even recognize what is happening?
All right. There's a slight correction there. It's not that I work with at-risk youths.
Mhm.
I work with community groups, but it
Community groups,
will, yeah, it I work in the community. So
right?
it basically involves everybody. So it's not just with
Right.
the at-risk youths.
Even better.
Um,
Talk.
how do we recognize
Mhm.
one? All right, how they react, emotional reaction.
Mhm.
We could be having, let's say, a community meeting, and just for something simpler, minuscule, the reaction is extreme anger.
Mm.
That that I believe um would be one way of the tip, because I mean it's nothing to react like that over. So I believe that would be one thing. Um and it is not just limited to children but also to us adults in terms of the relationships we find ourselves in. If it's a case where we have this tendency to seek validation from others, I believe that too is, um, of detecting that there's some unmet need, or there's something wrong. If an individual or child is constantly, well, repeatedly dealing with issues related to self-worth or trust, again, that is also reminder that something is not truly right. So I think just those things, the relationships, how they react, you know, emotionally, are some triggers that I use to pick up that things are not necessarily right.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that answer and for that clarification as well. We're going to take a quick break, and of course, when we come back, we have our guests that are our other guests that will be joining us along with Andrew. And if you're just joining us on the program, we're talking about unlocking the resilient adult, healing and empowering the inner child. We're bringing to you part two, and we have two special guests that are joining us on the program on this morning. And of course, we are going to give you an opportunity to hear more. So keep it locked and loaded right here with us, and we'll be right back on the Ant-Man Empowerment Podcast.
You know, when I first came to Canada 20 something years ago, all I want was Jamaican food, Jamaican food, Jamaican food.
Looking for a Jamaican restaurant in Edmonton? A Yamida Jamaican restaurant and bakery. Get your oxtail, curry goat, jerk chicken, rice and peas, ackee and saltfish, fried dumplings, patties, and so much more. A Yamida Jamaican restaurant and bakery. Opening hours Mondays to Thursdays 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Fridays and Saturdays 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them today at 4435 118 Avenue or call 780-479-1900.
Are you ready to amplify your message and reach hearts with purpose?
Introducing HGG Advertising, your partner in spreading the gospel and connecting with the Christian community.
Churches, Christian based businesses, listen up.
With HGG Advertising, you can reach your audience through powerful radio campaigns.
Engage hearts, inspire minds, and grow your community with HGG Radio, which is already reaching 136 countries worldwide.
We specialize in promoting Christian values and helping businesses aligned with faith-based principles.
Whether it's a church event or your business rooted in Christian values, HGG Advertising is here for you.
Connect with us and let's share your message with purpose.
HGG Advertising, spreading the gospel, connecting communities. Email us today at ads@hggradio.ca. That's ADS at hggradio.ca. Or call us today at 825-343-4486.
Thank you for staying with us here on the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast. If you're just joining us, we are talking about the resilient adult, unlocking the resilient adult and healing and empowering the inner child. Joining us are our special guests, Dion Francis and Anjo Mark Jones. And just as just before we move to them, as the advertisement was mentioned a while ago, those who have joined us week after week here on the Iron Man Empowerment Podcast, this ad is really talking about if you want to keep us going, keep us on air, we're asking you to go to our website at www.higherground gospelradio or hggradio.ca and donate. If you want to be a blessing to this program, if you want to be a blessing to this radio station, go to our website and donate. Keep us going, keep us on air. All right. So I'm going to go to our guest, Miss Dion Francis. Welcome to the show, Lady Francis. I know you've been having a little bit of technical challenge, but I'm so delighted that you're here with us this morning. Good morning. Can you just unmute for me?
That would make a difference, wouldn't it?
Perfect. Perfect.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure being here, and looking forward to seeing how we can truly reveal the whole empowerment and the resilience that is really on the inside of us. So looking forward to this.
Awesome. I am so happy that you're here with us. And I'm going to, and while you're here with us, I'm going to come directly to you because we've been talking last week and we are looking into part 2 about healing that inner child. And so from there, we can talk about unlocking, that resilient adult within us. But before we even unlock, and we talk for a bit last week on the inner child, and want to move over a little into the resilient adult. But I want to, of course, you're just joining us, so I want to go to that inner child. How can we then reparent, re-nurture our inner child to promote that healing and growth? I'll come to you there.
Okay, and thank you again for having me here. The first thing is awareness. Many of us are not aware of the inner child. Most of us never, ever, most of society, we have never acknowledged the inner child. The inner child is so new to us, and therefore most of us, we're trying to work from what I call the breached foundation, where we were broken from, where we got lost. But the reality is that the inner child is really your I am. It's that foundational. I love the way how last week Natalie explained the psychological aspect to the inner child. However, there's a spiritual aspect. You see, the inner child was what should have been nurtured to be that resilient and empowered man or woman today, that we would be impacting, we would be relevant in the space and time that we occupy. So think about doing an equation and you take a few figures out or the process out. There's no way you're going to solve that problem. There's no way you're going to get the correct answer. Without the inner child, it's being repaired. It's impossible for us to truly live the God plan life, to truly live that empowered life. We can have an okay life, a good life, but not the life that was meant to impact the space and time that we, the authority that we were given, we can actually use, share to establish order and structure in our lives and in our environment. So the inner child is the spiritual aspect of the inner child. Think about the egg that was incubated and needed to have been nurtured, preserved, and kept in order to truly walk as the empowered adult that we truly are. And it's there, it's in each
Mhm.
and every one of us. It's just dormant.
Mm. How can we activate that within us?
Awareness is the first thing.
Yes.
You and I, we all have to be, every person on this panel, we have to become aware that there was a point in life where we believed, as pure as a child, as innocently as a child, our views were one of hope. We really didn't have the corrosions of life then. The inner child has an innocence and therefore a visibility that most adults are lacking today
Mm.
because it was damaged. It's almost like your eyesight was damaged, but it's repairable.
Mm.
So the awareness is the first thing. And one of the first, I have classes, I coach professionals, and one of the things we do before we look at the job and the profession and the titles and the all the accolades that you have, I have something that I call unveiling. And basically you peel like an onion right back to the point of your childhood, the point
Mm.
of your innocence, a point when you thought of inventions that for the time and the period that you were born in, you weren't necessarily relevant. But today you are a relevant force in
Mm.
today's time and space. I tell everyone that I speak with, bear in mind when you were born, you were not born for the period of your mother and your father and your grandmother. It was for you to be nurtured, that you would be the authority that you were meant to be in the space and time as a man or a woman. I was not relevant to change, to bring change as an infant, a child,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I was there to be nurtured. And when you really think about it, the awareness of the inner child, we can pull so much from it. Children have a way of, we have to be very careful when we see it, or when we as parents, when we actually observe this in a child, sometimes it can be misconstrued as rebellion.
Mhm.
But it's a child that is so absolutely sure of the possibilities for the future, for something that will happen tomorrow. And their tomorrow, they're not thinking their tomorrow is when they're an adult. They're thinking it's now. Children do not really think about, we ask them the question, when you grow up.
Mhm.
But a child does not initiate that conversation. A child initiates what they think is possible.
Mhm.
They don't connect it to time. They don't connect it to the fact that I'm a child, I am too young. We teach them that you're too young. We teach them when you're an adult. We tell them that you are not functional. And that's the
Right.
first stage, until such a time, instead of nurturing that resilience. There was an occasion that my niece and myself and my brother and my sister, we were driving, and she started explaining to us that she was going to invent a straw system that would feed ant water under the earth, that they wouldn't get harmed when they come above ground, the way we would step on them, wind or things would fall on them. And she sat down and she looked at the fact that ants were being harmed. And how could she change that? And my brother was saying, I don't think that's going to work. And she said, yes. And she started explaining the technical process. And we sat there and I was listening to this child and I thought, hmm, interesting. Is it possible that there's a day that such an invention will be here? And she was adamant that it would work. It's not for us to tell these children it can't work because that's a part of the visionary in us. Now, you think about the time in your life when you had a dream that was out of place from
Mm.
where you were in. It's not that the dream wasn't possible, the dream wasn't for now, no different from Joseph. Joseph's dream was not for his now that he was in, it was for
Mm-hmm.
the future. So even our environment quite often cannot relate to it, cannot connect to it because it's just so far fetched.
Mm-hmm. This is powerful stuff. So you're saying then a lot of time with our inner child, and I'll come to you, Rev, but a lot of time with our inner child, we can unintentionally, unconsciously plant that seed of wounds
Just with
within.
innocent, and it's an innocent conversation, but right there, I have just shut down any capacity to dream. And I can relate to it because
Mm-hmm.
when I was 5 years old, I'm the eighth of eight children. And when I was 5 years old, all my siblings were out of the house and they all went off to school. So I had no one to play with. My mom put me in a basic school half day. We call it kindergarten here. And
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting because every day for 1 year, I would come home, change my uniform, climb on the veranda ledge, and I would walk back and forth and I would say two words for hours. You can, you can, you can. But what I saw was a grown woman speaking to a sea of people who were laying on the ground. And whenever she spoke and told them they could, they can, they would rise up and they would walk. They would
Mm.
disperse. They would
Wow.
become vibrant and alive. That's what I saw as a child. At age 6, I went to school, elementary school. And within the first year or two, the teacher asked this question: who do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do when you grow up? Right there, when you think about it to a child, it's like, okay, so I can't be anything or do anything until I grow
Mm-hmm.
up. Yet still, we make demands of them while they're growing up. So here you are, here I was in class, and I was eager to tell them who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And what I realized, everyone wanted to be something that someone else wanted to be like,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't. And for the first time in my life, I realized I did not have a name or a title for what I wanted to do when I grow up, who I wanted to be. Everyone else wanted to be a doctor, a teacher, a policeman, a fireman. Everyone knew and could, and when they said it, everyone understood. And I realized I did not have a title for the You Can Lady. I could not explain what the You Can Lady did.
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling terrified. And even in that respect, I think about the fact now as an adult, all through the year of doing it, I never felt uncomfortable being the You Can Lady. I wanted to be that lady. I believed I was that woman telling the world, telling the sea of people, you can. To make it quickly, put it in a nutshell, I sat down hoping that Mrs. Jackson would never see me. Guess what? I stood out like a sore thumb. She saw me. And what she did, I remember her saying, Frances, sternly, I guess because I sat down, who do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do, girl? And I remember standing up, terrified. I could hear my heart beating in my head. I was so afraid. And I said, I want to save the world.
Wow.
I opened my mouth, and it was never a thought. I'd never, ever thought about it before. And she said, You can't. And the class laughed,
Mm.
and they laughed. And I remember sitting down. I said, You're right. It's stupid. And she just moved on to the next student.
Next
When I was
person.
on the play field, the kids started teasing me. Oh, that's a girl that's going to save the world. Hi. And, everyone laughed. And it went on for a few weeks, and then it faded away. But I want to tell you, never again, after that experience in the class, did the Yukon lady surface. Never again I
Mm.
thought about her. Never again I spoke about her. Never again talk about a kill of a dream.
Hmm.
So
Very,
I can
very painful.
relate to that. I don't think Mrs. Jackson was a bad woman. She wasn't. Actually, I liked my grade one teacher. She was looking for someone or an answer that was relevant to her time.
Hmm.
She was not looking for the visionaries sitting there before her, the trailblazers, the future thought leaders.
Hmm.
She was looking for relevance to the time and space that she occupied. As parents, that's something we have to be careful about.
Yes.
Children is not for our time, it's for us to nurture them for their season. And
Yeah.
in ourselves, understand this is my time. What is my true identity that I've always wanted to be that is so outlandish, so different from my now? That's
Yeah.
okay. Be that unique, distinctive person, because I tell you, you have that person has a place. That person already has a predestined history. You can't, that person doesn't have to make history. Like Christ, you just have to fulfill it.
Yes.
But outside of that, we will always be struggling to be somebody, make history, be important. That 5-year-old girl, I tell everyone, she lives today. 39 years later, the Yukon lady surfaced when I wrote a monologue about myself. It took me 39 years later to connect to my true purpose. Today, the 5-year-old girl lives as a woman, and her message is you can, you can, you can.
You can. I think your story really encapsulate from that wounded child into this resilient person, woman. It's so powerful. Stay right there with us. I want to bring Andrew Mark in for his comment, and then I'm going to go to the panel. I'm sure they have burning questions for you. Andrew, I'll bring you here for your comment, sir. Unmute
Yeah.
for us, Andrew. And one of the reason I want to bring Andrew in here because Lady Francis said something that resonated with what Andrew mentioned last week about that laugh. He mentioned last week that when they laughed at him, how it create a wound in his spirit and shut him down. Andrew, your comments, sir, and on this.
Well, I mean, Miss Francis, is it Miss Francis?
Yes.
She, again, I've been challenged this week because that simple question that we ask children, I didn't really look at it in such a way, and it makes me know I need to know rethink how I approach, you know, my own children because I didn't know with just a simple thing I could devastate a life. So I mean, you have taught me something this morning, and I really really need to look into how I'm parenting. I have been challenged from, or I'm being challenged from last week. So I thank you for that. Um, with reference to what I said last week. Miss Francis, it took Miss Francis 39 years to reconnect to the You Can lady, she said.
Mhm.
Um, with me, it would have happened probably. I would have been probably a little bit older than Miss Francis, but it is not until I went to UTech in about 1998 I was able to stand before an audience and sing. It wouldn't have been 39 years, but it could have been 20 something years. I'm not saying that to say I'm now this recording artist, but it's just how long it took me to stand before a crowd to sing. Um, Powerful words by Miss Francis.
Yes.
Very powerful
Yes.
words from Miss Francis. So I guess my thought in all of this is that we really a lot of things are coming back to me because I think Elder Muir mentioned it too in terms of how we choose to parent. The the saying that came back to mind: children should be seen and not heard. Is that
Yes.
that
Yes.
we really need to rethink, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
When Miss Francis said that, and I had to write it down, the children are not for my time. They are to be nurtured for their
For the future.
season, yeah, for the
Hmm.
future. That is so profound. She has really opened my eyes because I guess probably I've been narrow minded. I really wasn't looking at things the way she has expressed it, sorry.
Yes.
But I'm
Yes.
supposed to be responding to
And
it
that's
was
fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. We're all here to contribute and to learn from each other as we grow and have
You
the
can.
conversation. So that's fine. You can.
You can.
no, is it that I should be responding to how we
No,
integrate?
no, no, that's
You
fine. I
can.
just wanted to bring you in, to kind of get your thoughts and everything that was being said, and because it resonates so much with what you mentioned, it resonates so much with what you said last week.
Yeah.
After singing, and then folks laugh at you, and it
Yeah.
really shut you down for such a long time. And so what you were saying really lend credence to what you mentioned
Mhm.
and last week, and so that's why I bring you in for your thoughts. So I really appreciate your contribution. I know Pastor Clive is burning up over there. He has so much. I think Lady Dion lit a fire on the panel that we all have to, and then I'll bring her in again, again too. So Pastor Clive, come on in.
Ah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Lady Diane, the Lord bless you richly. Um, I want to say that we may have to do something with parents because you can shut down the adulthood in the child before they get there.
Mhm.
Meaning that what the child was aspired to be, one comment can shut that child down because they may never get the opportunity to express or to become what their true desire really is. Um, as a young man, I know my sister is online, my family is online, but we're adults now, right? As a child, I remember I was drafted to be a comedian. Very funny. It may not sound like it because I put away all jokes and stuff because of the gospel. And that doesn't mean I don't crack a joke here and there. But as a young man, I used to be funny. I used to just look at something and just make a joke out of it. And so my teachers would have recognized it, and then we had some Caucasian folks came to Jamaica, and at the time, just before Lime Tree Lane come on, and we were at the Sonil All Age School, and would have been drafted to be a comedian or to act as a comedian, and that would have been the start of my career. And of course, other persons were there, and called names, but they were there. And the day come when I was supposed to go, I didn't need to do nothing besides just show up for the show at Art Academies, Stony Hill Art Academy. And my mother did not send me. When I say crush, I had the tickets, I had my thing to go in, nobody will question me. And I was devastated until years later, the Lord said to me, it wasn't your mother that stopped you. It was I that did it, because you'd have gone in the wrong field or in doing something, right? And I say and I literally say to the Lord, I says, there must be ways of how we express certain things to our children for them not to be hurt. And with the 6 children that the Lord blessed me with, I realized that I have to correct how I talk to them, how I express to them, how I guide them by showing them the reason why I say don't go here or don't do this or don't do that or think about this. I don't go and say stop, don't do it, cut off the question. I don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. No, 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 no. I reason with them and say, son, daughter, my son, he's the oldest, he's going to be 32 years old. And in his life, I'm like, you don't have to be a contractor. I'm a contractor and I love what I do. But I want you to be an engineer, and I want you to be this, and I want you to be that. That's what I want. But I'm not going to force you not to, to go and do what you don't want to do. And he went back, wouldn't listen. And he go back to school, and my son came back to me after a whole bunch of mess up in his teenage, around for 10 years, wake up at 28, and finally find himself. And says, Dad, everything that you taught me, what not to do and how to do, and I went to college or went to school, and they were teaching me the same thing. I said, you should have paid me instead of paying them. But I say that to say this, that we have to be able to learn to guide our children, how to instruct them, steer them for the future, whether they're your children or not your children. Our job as persons who are older or a person who's looking to us for advice is
Yes.
to be able to help
them.
somebody. It could be a younger or an older, because somebody may need to, they're struggling with that inner child and how to come out of it. And you have to be able to use life experience. And you may never go through nothing, but you have to be able to can point them to somebody to say, hey, go talk to this person, because some adults are trapped in a child's mindset, and they can't get. How do you get them out of that childish mindset? So I say all of that to say this, is that I learned from I was a child, and when I grow up, I realize there's certain things I will not do to my children that affected me as a child, and not because I went through it, they have to go through it. Because I feel the pain, they have to, the tough love. And yes, we do tough love, but in different ways, right?
Right.
And
right.
You have to be able to help your children to see life from a different handle, perspective, how you help them shape their future and to be able to pull. What do you say to a young man that is struggling with with raped? What do you and it's not from he's a young man, and from ladies that was older than. What do you say to a young man? And he grew up to be an adult, and feeling as if that, I don't want to do this. It's a lot. So we have to therefore put ourselves into people's shoes and also help each other. The Bible says, when you come together, pray one for another that they might be healed. That means
Yes.
is that your job is to pray for the person next to you so that their healing will come. Your healing will come by you praying for that person. Your deliverance will come by just praying for that person. And one day, trust me, the person will get it. It will snap out of it.
That's
They
right.
will now feel whole again. They will start to say, my God, it took me 30 years to come out of it. I want to stop by. I want to say to somebody this morning that nothing wrong with reaching out to somebody to deal with that inner child. 39 years, but it will happen one day if you deal with it.
Yes.
If you
Thank you so much, Rev. Thank you so much, Rev. I want to bring in Elder Muir and then Bishop, and so we want to, go right. We have about 20 minutes, so we want to give them a say. Elder Muir, and then
Thank
we
you
want to go
very
on to
much, Dr.
testimonies.
Bryan. I really wanted to come in. I wanna speak to Lady Dion. And of course, Pastor Clive, I am happy God did not allow you to go down that comedian pathway. Look what the Lord has done.
Look what he won't he do it? Won't he do it?
That's right. That's right. So, Lady Dion, you were mentioning some things having to do with nurturing, and Pastor Clive also mentioned bringing them out of that mindset that they're in. So, I want to ask you this question: how do we create a safe and nurturing environment for our children to process their emotions? Or can I say it this way? Uh, how can we help children develop emotional regulating skills? And that will help to manage their feelings.
It's interesting when you ask that question. As parents, my first response is going to be, first, start managing and regulating yourself. A lot of times children do watch and they replicate. They duplicate what they see. We do. And think about it, it is natural. God created us after his image. We're duplicates of our Father, replicates, identical. And we are trying to do that with our children from a broken place. It's impossible. It's impossible for spoiled milk to make a safe cup of tea. The first thing is start loving yourself as a parent. A lot of times we think about the passage, love your neighbor as yourself, and we work at loving others, but we really don't master loving ourselves. And that is a continuous goodwill towards yourself or others, not contingent on any act or deed. So therefore, I'm training myself here to love my child and to demonstrate love and to teach them how to love themselves, regardless of whatever has happened, whatever has occurred. If I have to discipline you, know that I still love you. So it's not a either either. It's a not contingent, no contingency on what is happening between us. So the first thing I would say to a parent, any parent, do you love yourself? Do you care for yourself? We're trying to love and care for others. And the truth is, the best parents are parents who have dealt with the broken inner child. The best parents. And it's not it's not necessarily, how can I put it? We have to deal with the inner child in ourselves and in our children, yes, but it's more difficult for me to really bring balance to someone else's life when mine is imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion to you is to first begin with yourself. And yes, the child is there. So you're going to be working on yourself while you work on your child. It's not like a single person who can download and spending time with God. For me, my transition, I thank God for my family, the ministry that I'm a part of. I'm thankful for that. But most of all, I thank God for my decision to make my life journey with Him. And as believers, that's something you have to really take into consideration. If when you ask God to take all of me and to expose what needs to be exposed and heal me where I need to be healed, it's not an easy journey. It's literally a death to self, as you
Mm.
know it. And many times the world that we live in tells us as adults, as parents, as authority figures, we must always be strong. We must always be projecting that power image. Get real. When you're being stripped, there's absolutely no power image. In the sight of God, where He's weak, you're going to be where you're strong. Where you're weak, He's going to be strong.
Yes.
And it's about relinquishing that facade of strength. Parents, you're strong, not because I said so, but because you were designed so. Your children are not the oops, as society talk about, oh, you weren't planned for. You did not come into this world, none of us here, through a back door. We did not sneak in. We are not illegal immigrants to the earth. We
Mm-hmm.
were predestined, and therefore there's a legacy set aside for us. Therefore, there's a history set in place for us to fulfill, and therefore there is a life that is relevant that the rest of the world is waiting for. And you realize a puzzle. The more we come into our true self, start loving ourselves. It starts with love.
Yes.
You are better. You're a better father when you learn how to be a better love to yourself.
Powerful. Let me, or you have a follow-up question, or we'll go to Bishop. You're muted, sir.
Okay, I'm saying let's go to Bishop because I know the time is far spent. I have a number of questions, but let's go to Bishop.
No problem. Bishop, we're coming to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Um, and it's something similar to what question that Elder Moore asks. And you know, how do you then talk to the future or the vision that's in a child? For example, you mentioned your teacher, I think it was Miss Francis was the name.
Jackson.
Miss Jackson.
Jackson. Okay, thank you. Right. What are what could she have said to you at that particular time that would have empowered you instead of shut you down?
She could have had dialogue, a conversation. She could have asked me, what does, how are you going to save the world?
Mm-hmm.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. What would that look
Conversation.
like?
And our children need it. And for a lot of parents, we don't have that with our children.
Yeah, I think, Lady Dion, that maybe what she did is that she associated your response with maybe the cartoons that kids would normally watch. So she just went over that, right? Without having a conversation or a follow-up to it, right? So she was then thinking that you were in this world when that's not the time for it, right? So I'm just assuming, I'm just saying, right?
Funny you put it that way. It's interesting you put it that way because a lot of times we just think our children are speaking silly things. It's a
Mhm.
cartoon. You're right. Animated. It's some form of animation, imagination, and we just throw it out the window. But the
Yeah.
reality is that I'm living who I am today more so than I did for most of my life. And when you think about it, Joseph lived who he was and was impacting. He fulfilled his purpose because he stayed the course. And there are times I think, what is it that made me different? And I do ask God this question. I think a lot, I ponder a lot. And Natalie last week talked about spending time with yourself. Spend
Self,
time with
yes.
yourself and God and self-reflect and see yourself for the best that you are, the worst that you are, the the needs that you have, everything. Do not be ashamed of you in your quiet time, because if you are ashamed, come on now,
Help us
you'll
close.
never
That's
come
right.
out. You'll never
Mhm.
come out of the closet.
So now
And
you're talking about spiritual practices, which is good. Sorry to break in like that. Go ahead.
it's essential. They're pillars that every human being in life, they're pillars that structures our life, and spirituality is one of them. And we try to live our lives without God. We try to live our lives without that spiritual reinforcement. We try to live our life without the manual designer. We never
Mm.
came with a manual, but there is a book.
Yeah.
I spend time, and my identity is, for me, it's aligned with who God says I am. That when I hear the negative stuff now, or I have the days when I'm not successful, or I might have a slip or a setback, or just feeling unsuccessful, guess what? And if you realize I said unsuccessful, you'll never hear me say I fail.
Mm.
Nowhere in the Bible God ever called mankind a failure. He said if you fail to do something, but
Mhm.
he never said you're a failure. He's talking about himself.
Mhm.
So even our children,
There is no failure in him, the word says.
see, if you
And we are
approach
the
your
image of
child
God. Mhm.
precisely, if you approach your child from the standpoint that he or she is a genius, no failure in them, you will not be so quick. We won't be as swift to dismiss what seems like folly or a comic. Think about it. If I truly approach life from the standpoint, when I meet someone and they're talking to me, what they're saying might be far fetched, I'm like, God, help me to connect here. Before I come up with a conclusion, and I work at not dismissing or having pre conclusion to any conversation.
Right.
Even if I heard something and I meet you today, for me, it's a clean slate.
Yes.
And we need to look at our children, examine what we hear from them, and guide it. But in order to do that, I have to nurture what's on the inside of me. Because remember, for most of us, we don't trust our judgment.
Mhm.
We don't believe in ourselves. We don't keep our word to ourselves. And there are variables, and this is why I said there are things that we have to do. Work on yourself. I have to work on. I had a niece living with me at one point, and that child taught me how to love at a different level, and I thought I loved.
Mm.
She taught me how to be credible, to keep my word, because she was going to hold me to my word. But you see, I also had a pretty good template. My mother, if she said, I'll get you a star from the sky on your birthday, I wouldn't even give it a second thought. It was going to happen.
Wow.
Sometimes I say, I don't know if my mom ever lied to me. There are demonstrations that until this day, our relationship, when we talk, we have an honest relationship. This teenager and I will sit down and talk, because I'm Auntie Dion who doesn't lie. I'm anti Dion. And I realized at one point I was like, suppose I can't measure up to this. And I really had to trust God through the process, rely on him, how to transform myself while I'm impacting this child. And
Mhm.
I must say, you will be a better person for it and a better parent if we allow the spiritual infusion in our raising of our children and recovering of our inner child.
So powerful. Elder Muir, I have as a follow-up question, but just before I go to the question, I'm telling you that I'm having so much messages, so much text, so much persons are being benefited from this conversation. One person messaged me and said, Miss Francis only, she just opened a can of worm and we can't leave it like this. We need to have her back. Persons are touching base with me and said, I am in therapy right now. Some didn't know how important therapy was. And as we're having the conversation, they're recognizing that, oh my God, I need to I need to hear her talk. I need to have this conversation. I need so we're saying as you're talking, and I'm telling you in real time how much people are being impacted because so much time we have stuff hidden for so many years and we don't even know. Journey Rate Renee said, my daughter was shortchanged from the broken me, but now has benefited from the heal me. That is why children mean so much to me. I feel I have a responsibility to point them to Christ. One person said they've been called different names. I think it was her who have called different name, and it is through healing, it's through therapy that really started her on this journey of recognizing. Because sometimes we talk to so much about and talk to our children and talk down to them rather than having the conversation. And so this morning, Diane is saying to us to have the conversation, create that dialogue, and so that we can hear them. And of course, they will create that safe space as well, where children are able to really, really talk to us. And Marsha Ben said, self love is extremely important. Make it a priority. And she said, I will be able to love others if I know how to love myself. Of course, some of the gems that we're receiving this morning from Lady Dion as she's really unpacking and really opening up our eyes to a lot of things. Elder Muir, I'm coming to you, sir, with your follow-up.
Very
We'd
good.
lo- yeah.
And Lady Dion, I'm really enjoying it. And you mentioned earlier, Lady Dion, that and I just put it on my status. I just put it on my status. It is impossible for spoiled milk to make a safe cup of tea. You said that in reference to working on ourselves or
Mhm.
transforming oneself, right? So I want to ask you, what are some key strengths or qualities that adults possess, and how can we help to build upon these strengths? Because you might have the strength, but because it was bruised and battered when you were young, it's just not
Mhm.
coming out. So, what are some key strengths that we can work on to see this resilient adult coming forth?
Thanks. That's a very valid question. Thanks for asking that because I actually made a list while I was sitting here. um, and I was just making a note. And one of the first thing is self awareness.
Mm.
Take time and start examining yourself. And don't examine yourself from the scope of negativity. Ask God to just touch your heart. Sit down and make the decision that I want to see me and I'm going to love who I see, regardless of whatever is exposed. Whatever I did yesterday, last night, a minute ago, a year ago, I'm going to love me. Love is such a powerful tool and it gives you a sense, it's really a safety blanket. It bends any wound, it comforts any soul. So the first step I would say is to discover, who am I? One of the first thing my class does is define themselves. Anyone, any class, whether a group or individually, I am. And it cannot be based on anything that you have acquired externally, the degrees, the masters, the titles. That's not who you are. That's what you've acquired based on the breached life that you have. And I'm not saying you wouldn't be a pastor, an elder, an astronaut, a teacher, an image curator. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there are things that are getting in the way from you being the best at what you do. So loving yourself would be discovering who I am. So this is where you take the awareness test for 1 week. And this is something I'm going to suggest you try. For 1 week, document how you speak, document, notice what you're noticing. Is your mind positive or is it in a negative place? Is it in a condemning place or does it build up? Notice what you're noticing. Identify the way you speak, the way you think, the desires that you have, because a lot of times we're planning life and we're not connected to our desires or destination. So we're just throwing plans together, half done, just to get through life. But you actually have a life. After you define that I am, when you see what you see and you lay that out, you are making the decision that whatever I see and discover about myself, I'm going to love me. Now, the next question is, what do I desire? What do I want? And do not plan from your need. Plan from a greater place. Plan from the successful you, the you who doesn't have all this baggage. Imagine yourself in the first 7 days shedding everything that is negative. Because what you're doing, you're resurfacing your foundation. And then start looking at what is it that I want? And is it what, one of the gentlemen on the platform spoke about his son being an engineer. And that is something good that we want for our children, but is that something that was predestined for this child? And that's one of the things in my book Change, I address that even before we were born, a breach occurred when our parents start deciding who I will be and what I will do and how I will live and where I will live, everything. My life began to reshape even before I stepped into this world. And when I stepped into this world, there are other social elements, cultural elements, spiritual elements, religious reinforcement. There are things that impacts my life that totally takes it off course. So first, who am I? Define yourself. Because when the more you know and the clearer you are of who you are, the less someone else is able to turn you or tell you who you are. And therefore, the more likely you will remain on your course.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Pastor Clive, do you have a question? We'll come to Bishop, or I want to bring Andrew Mark in. If you have a question, Andrew, you want to share? I think we have we have gotten a little extension. The conversation is so good. We're given 10 more minutes extension. So, Andrew, let me bring you in if you have a question, and then I'll do a round table. Andrew, you can unmute and come in. Question
Well,
or comment?
not necessarily a question, but I think Elder Muir was he asked a question, and what I think I would like to add is that to in order to help with building self-confidence, we should learn to celebrate our accomplishments, big or small. It doesn't
Yes.
matter. As long as we have accomplished something, celebrate it. Yeah, and that
Yes.
is my 2 cents for now.
Powerful. Thank you so much. Pastor Clive, do you have a question? Um,
Not necessarily a question, but
you have
just
a quick comment?
regarding our, to help our children. Um, thank you. In regarding to help our children, we have to first be, as this Elamure would have reiterate what uh, Francine would have said. You cannot use spill
Dion.
milk. Dion
Yes.
would have said, you cannot use spill milk to make a safe cup of tea. You cannot use, you can a broken people will make broken people. When you're broken, you need to be whole. You have to find that place or that therapy, that something, somebody, somewhere, somehow. You may
Hmm.
not be a Christian, but you're gonna need to be whole. And if you're not whole, how can you help somebody else to be whole? So brokenness, it will continues in your generation. So you have to the buck stop right here, and you have to look at yourself and say, I'm going to fix me. Because if you don't fix me, I'm going to pass on the hurt. I'm going to pass on the pain. I'm going to pass on things that I've learned from my childhood to my children. I have three grandchildren. And for me, the cycle would have stopped with me because I tell myself that I wasn't going to always see my dad live his life. And what happened to me as a child, I said to myself, I will not allow this to happen to my children. And I had to break about, and that didn't mean that I was whole. I was broken while I'm saying to myself, it's not going to pass on. It's not going to pass on. Why? Because you see, you have to balance your selfish desires to accomplish a positive future. If you do not, I usually use this phrase that said, starve the wolves and feed the sheep. Feed the positive inside of you so that you can leave something positive with the children, with other persons. So that doesn't mean that, Dr. Bryan, that I was whole when I was helping my son, my daughters. You know what I mean? At the age of 35, I would have got a devastating news. But instead of me using that to say, Clive, do this, and naturally that's some person that said, man, if I was you, I would have done this. Instead of that, I embrace it more and love on it more to feed the positive. Because the Bible says that when something is negative, how do you get a positive out of it? God will take the bad and turn it into good. How do you take your life from a child and you now become an adult? And the more you know how to feed the positive out of a negative, out of what you have been through, you start to see yourself now start to grow and start to be healed, start to be matured, start to say, you know what, I'm getting over this. I am
Yes.
over this. And the pain is no more. The pain is getting less. And you find yourself is in a more secure and more favorable place in your life. And there's so much to talk about with this topic,
Yes.
Bryan. I'm telling
Time
you,
wouldn't allow us.
trust me.
Time wouldn't allow us. Thank you so much, sir. Bishop, I'll bring you in for a final thought or question here.
Yes, so I don't have a thought. I don't have a question. I feel like I'm in a classroom and I'm just taking notes. I have 330 words here already. That's not written down. Willing to, and I hope you don't mind, I will be sharing some of these thoughts that I get and giving credit here. Um, but you mentioned that you do have a book. I'm not certain if you can put some of that information out there so we can look into that and get that info. I don't know if you did it last week. I wasn't here, but if you where we can get that book and so on to purchase.
The book, okay, let me clarify. The book is actually coming out for the end of the year. It's the upcoming book. It's called Change: The Lies We Tell Ourselves and the Stories We Believe. And basically, it's about when we change the narrative of what we say, the what we believe, and the stories that we've received about ourselves, the transition process begins. But it first starts with that decision that, as one of the panelists pointed out, it stops with me. It stops with me.
Mhm.
For me, being where I am today, I got up one day and I said, you know what, there's more to life, and what I'm living stops here. A
Mhm.
decision is the first step in the transition, the renewing of, whether mentally or the renewing of our physical life. It's a decision. And we see that in the very first book, Genesis. God had a thought and he made a decision.
Mm.
And the decision has brought us all where we are today. And that's it. And if you
Powerful.
look at it, so it's really the book. I will definitely forward you the link and everything when it's released.
No,
Um,
we'll do one thing better. When the book is going to be released, we're going to invite you right here to launch it, right here on HGG Radio. You'll come back right here. We'll talk about the book. We'll get it.
Thank
We
you.
right here on your podcast will be your first. We'll buy the book. We'll be the first ones to buy the book.
That's
And
right.
from the book, we're going to have a conversation. We'll launch it right here for our listeners. So you have that commitment for us right here on HEG Radio.
Great.
So this
Thank
is
you.
your place where you're launching the book. All right. So you have that for us. We want to also give you an opportunity to tell our listeners where can they find you? Where can they book you? Where do you do your I know you're busy, you have a company and everything going. Tell us where we can find you. We give you an opportunity to plug that.
Well, my company is Blueprint Pathfinders Inc. And you can find me at pretty much Dion K at Blueprint Pathfinders Inc. And you just drop me a line and I'll definitely respond to you. Blueprint also is on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook, and you can find me also on Instagram. So I tend to respond quite quickly to my emails. So I would I would recommend that you reach out to me, and that's DEIONK at Blueprint Pathfinders Inc.com. And
Powerful.
I wanted to say one thing before
Yes,
we
I'm gonna go to your final thoughts. Of course, absolutely.
the gentleman brought out the celebrating your win, celebrating your success. I want to encourage each and every person, celebrate your efforts. Remember,
Mm,
we're coming from a place of negative, where the efforts meant has we were never taught to give value to what we bring to the table. And for me to feel that I have something of value in the first place that is even worth sharing, there were a lot of misses that went on before I came on this platform. There were a lot of moments, unsuccessful moments, that had to become lessons for me. I celebrate those today. Yeah, I celebrate my misses. I celebrate the miss, because in the miss is the lesson, and it becomes light unto my path, the what not to do. So I'm thankful that I even now have the understanding not to be judgmental or condemning to myself when I miss the mark, but it's to say, Dion, where did you miss this? The next thing, the effort, our efforts were counted for as nothing throughout our lives. For so many people, what they
mhm.
do, no one says thank you, greatly appreciated, great job, nothing. Let it start with you. It stops here and it starts here. I will celebrate me. I will tell me, you know what, great effort. Tomorrow, let's shift things a bit that we can get the results that we're working towards. And of course, celebrate the success, celebrate it,
Powerful.
celebrate them all.
powerful. We're really really grateful that you're able to join us, and we're hoping that you can join us again. I'll leave it with
I
Elder
love
Muir. Elder Muir would love to have her. I mean, when I tell you that my phone is blowing up, chats are blowing up, folks would love to have you back. Now I can even set it on fire. If you love to have Miss Dion back on this program, type it in the chat right here, right now. Tell us what you think right here, right now. And I'm telling you, it's going to blow up. Folks already telling me. So we're so grateful. And we're looking forward to having you back here on this program from near and far, from Grand Cayman, from Antigua, from here in Canada, as down in Montego Bay, Jamaica, to Moran Point, to, oh my Lord, the UK. I see you over there in Manchester. I see you, my friends in London. I mean, so much people are listening and they're loving it and they're messaging. And we want to thank you so very much for coming through. And we're looking forward to having you back in the program. See, already? Bishop is already saying it. We want you back. See, Trisha is saying yes. Folks want you back. Marsha Ben, yes. You gotta come through. Marsha Ben said, I love her teaching and her thoughts, and of course, it is really a blessing to us. So we're looking forward to continue this conversation. In fact, we're going to shift gear, and there's a thought that is coming to mind, and we'll talk to you off air with regards to that. So thank you to all our listeners. Thank you to everyone who tune in here on the
Thank you.
Ironman Empowerment Podcast. We want to say a very special thank you to our guests, Andrew Mark and Miss Diane Francis. Thank you so much for coming through and for gracing us with your presence and with your thought and your wisdom. We are truly, truly grateful. Thank you all for joining us on this powerful journey of self-discovery and transformation. Today, our guests share their remarkable story and expertise, guiding us through the process of unlocking the resilient adult within. We've explored the ways on which our inner child shape us and how healing and empowering our inner child can lead to a more authentic, compassionate, and purpose-driven life. Remember, the journey of transformation is not always easy, but it's worth it. By acknowledging, embracing, and healing our inner wounds, we can tap into a deep wellspring of strength, courage, resilience rather. Take the lesson and insight from today's conversation and apply them to your own life. You have the power to unlock your full potential and become the resilient adult that you're meant to be. On behalf of the entire production crew, we invite you to join us next week on the Ironman Empowerment Podcast, where we continue to explore the depth of human potential and transformative power of resilience. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Go to Facebook, like us on Facebook. Share your thought with us on social media by using the hashtag Ironman Empowerment. Until then, keep pushing and remember to empower yourself and others along your way and along the journey. If you can help somebody as you travel along, if it's even a word or a song, then your living will not
Come
be
on.
in vain. Thank you so much for joining us as we bring the curtain down and we make way for Auntie Renee and the kids block at the top of the hour. Thank you, and God bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
Join us for the Ironman Empowerment Podcast, where we discuss matters close to the heart. This and every Saturday at 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on HGG Radio. I am your host, Dr. Lincoln Bryan, alongside your co-host, Pastor Clive Atkinson, Bishop Hopeton Morris, and Elder Edmund Muir.
What came out so far is
The Ironman Empowerment Podcast. We're not just talk, we're informative. HGG Radio.
What a mighty God we serve. Just want to thank you for joining us on this morning. Thank you for sticking and stay with us right here on AGG Radio. Of course, see you next week, same time, same place. I know we went over time, but it was a good time spent in the house this morning. Coming up at 10 a.m. sharp, join the Saturday Up with Auntie Renee with the Kids Block. This is where I pull things down on YouTube and Facebook on this morning. And of course, if you have not yet downloaded the app, you can go ahead and do so you can listen to us. And that's, of course, HGG Radio. God bless you and have a wonderful weekend.
HGG Radio.
Are you ready to amplify your message and reach hearts with purpose?
Introducing HGG Advertising, your partner in spreading the gospel and connecting with the Christian community.
Churches, Christian-based businesses, listen up.
With HGG Advertising, you can reach your audience through powerful radio campaigns.
Engage hearts, inspire minds, and grow your community with HGG Radio, which is already reaching 136 countries worldwide.
We specialize in promoting Christian values and helping businesses aligned with faith-based principles.
Whether it's a church event or your business rooted in Christian values, HGG Advertising is here for you.
Connect with us and let's share your message with purpose.
HGG Advertising, spreading the gospel, connecting communities. Email us today at ads@hggradio.ca. That's ads@hggradio.ca. Or call us today at 825-343-4486.
HGG Radio.
Transforming your relationship every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It's all about loving on purpose and the challenges that face us and how our relationship can be transformed. Are you feeling stuck in life or a loveless marriage? Let's journey together as you discover clarity, purpose, and fulfillment in life. I'm Bonita Grange, your relationship and life coach. Why suffer in silence when help is right here? Let's connect for a 30 minutes complimentary session at www.tlcbonitagrange.com or right here on HGG Radio. Talk to you soon. God bless.
What a mighty God.
In the middle of the storm, I hear the